We will start with the first principle, which is to design for extensibility. One way to think about this is to consider an idea from the startup world, the minimum viable product, also known as the MVP. We can think of the MVP as the most basic version of some product that would minimally fulfill enough of the purpose that it could be released to the public. In some respects, the MVP is version 1 of a product that could be used as the foundation for future expansion. Realistically, the MVP might work okay, but we would probably see room for improvement. Thus, we could systematically grow the MVP version through careful refinement in an incrementally robust manner. We could add well-conceived, well-constructed, and well-managed elements, and think about these additions piece by piece to make sure our course purpose and goals are still being met. And we can think of the first version of a course as that MVP. This would mean that we have assembled our course elements in such a way that we feel pretty good about their potential to fulfill the essential purpose of the course. We can think about how we can incrementally expand the course some more, all the while asking how the course could function in different settings. We could ask ourselves, how would each designed interaction work in an online setting, in a face-to-face setting, a hybrid setting? After we establish a set of elements that work together to enable desired interactions in support of learning goals across multiple settings, we can consider 2 additional things: increasing the capacity of existing elements and adding entirely new elements. These extensions should be used in support of strengthening existing interactions or in service of creating new ways of supporting interactions. In terms of our interaction model, as you begin with your initial course design, you can start by thinking about the interactions you want to facilitate in your class and what elements you may need to facilitate those interactions. Let's consider an example together. Suppose you want to facilitate student-to-student interactions around course materials and topics, for example, course readings. One way you could do that is by asking students to complete readings in advance and then facilitate an instructor-led class discussion around those readings. This could work quite well in a face-to-face graduate seminar or even a larger undergraduate class. And many of us are quite used to doing this. In fact, as you think about your course design, it could be productive to start with something you are familiar with, such as an approach you have used in the past. In our example, you facilitate this interaction by providing students with access to course readings in your course management system. These could be in a digital format, such as the PDFs that students would download and read on their own. Then students could discuss the papers together in class, with the instructor leading the discussion. This approach could be part of the initial course MVP. But once you have established an MVP, you can begin to think about how you could incrementally grow your course design by considering different ways of facilitating or enriching the interactions you want to create. This might include varying participant structures or even introducing new tools. The scenario I just described of asking students to download and read papers in advance of a whole class instructor-led discussion might not necessarily be a completely satisfactory approach, especially if you consider how it would work across different contexts. With classroom discussions, it can sometimes be difficult to capture the thoughts of all of our students or have them engage with other students' ideas in meaningful ways, especially in larger classes. So, we could aim to expand on this particular interaction by incorporating a social annotation tool, like Perusal or Hypothesis. Here, students can read articles using the tool, highlighting interesting passages and seeing what other students have highlighted, and then annotate by asking questions, as well as responding to other students' questions and comments. This allows for an asynchronous discussion of the paper among students during the reading phase, even prior to coming to class. The instructor can then look at student annotations and use them to develop prompts and probes for a richer synchronous discussion. This strategy has now expanded on the original design. The original goal of fostering rich student-to-student discussions about the course readings has been maintained, but it has also been expanded in a manner that can lead to richer interactions. It was also done in a way that could now work whether the class is in a physical environment or in an online environment, because the discussion essentially begins online using a social collaboration tool. Then a larger discussion could still continue online, as in a synchronous video conferencing session, or of course in a physical space too, as many of us are used to. We will continue with this particular example a little later when we revisit other aspects of resilient design.